Claim Interpretation Part 2 covers what a preamble is, how important a preamble is for claim interpretation, and how to interpret product-by-process claims. It builds on materials covered in Claim Interpretation pre-lecture, which introduced how claims are structured, and Claim Interpretation Part 1, which covered broadest reasonable interpretation definition of terms, functional language, and intended use. In Claim Interpretation Part 1, you learned that claim interpretation requires consideration of each and every word in the claim. No limitation, functional or otherwise, can be ignored. Each word in the claim, even those that may seem trivial, assist in determining what the claim covers. A claim has a specific structure or manner of arrangement. This structure provides important information to the examiner about how the claim should be interpreted. Let us take a look at the preamble as it relates to claim scope. Reviewing content covered in a separate claim interpretation pre-lecture presentation, the structure of a claim includes three main parts consisting of a preamble, a transitional phrase, and the body of the claim. The preamble is an introductory phrase at the beginning of the claim. It includes all of the language that occurs in the claim before the transitional phrase. The U.S. employs mainly three different transitional phrases: comprising, consisting of, or consisting essentially of. The transitional phrases define whether the scope of the claim is open or closed with respect to unrecited additional components or steps of the claim. The body of the claim is everything that occurs after the transitional phrase setting forth the limitations of the claimed invention. The claim preamble introduces the claimed invention in broad terms. It provides context for the claimed invention. The preamble may include limitations of the claimed invention, but the preamble normally does not limit the claim scope. Determining whether a preamble limits the scope of a claim is made on a case-by-case basis. Generally, a preamble does not limit the scope of a claim. If the body of the claim can stand on its own to set forth the scope of the claimed invention, then the preamble is not essential to limiting the scope of the claim. However, if the preamble is necessary to understand the scope of the claim, for example, if it is necessary to give life, meaning, or vitality to the claim, then the preamble limits the scope of the claimed invention, and it must be treated as a limitation of the claim. It is essential that you read each part of the claim by itself as well as reading them together in order to make an appropriate interpretation. In addition to the preamble that is necessary to give life, meaning, and vitality to the claim, other general guideposts for when a preamble limits the claim are listed here. Any language in the preamble that limits the structure of the claimed invention must be treated as a claim limitation. Further, if a limitation in the body of the claim depends upon the preamble for antecedent basis, for example, terminology in the body refers to terminology in the preamble, then the preamble is required to understand the claim and should be considered as providing a claim limitation. Finally, any preamble that is relied upon during prosecution to distinguish the claimed invention from prior art is therefore considered to limit claim scope. Now that you have some guidance on determining when the preamble may limit a claim, let us turn to what considerations have to be weighed in determining that a preamble will not limit the scope of the claim. If the body of the claim fully and intrinsically sets forth all of the structural limitations of the claimed invention, and the preamble merely states, for example, the purpose or intended use of the invention, rather than any limitations of the claimed invention, then the preamble is not considered to have a limiting effect. Limiting effect of an apparatus or composition claim depends on structural limitations, not upon intended uses of the structure. Likewise, a recitation in the preamble that merely extols the benefits of the claimed invention or some better property or feature of the claimed invention most likely does not limit the scope of the claim. The only plausible exception to this might be if there are some clear reliance on the recited benefits or features that affects the scope of the claimed invention. Now on to product by process claims. A product by process claim is a product claim that uses process steps of how the product is made as claim limitations. Even though the product is claimed by the steps or process, a determination of patentability is based on the product alone, not upon the claimed steps of the process. Product by process claims are not limited to the recited steps, only the structure or change in structure imparted by the steps. If the product in a product by process claim is the same as or obvious over a product of the prior art, then the claim is not patentable even though the prior art product is made by a different process. When the prior art discloses a product that reasonably appears to be either identical to or only slightly different from a product claimed in the product by process claim, you should make a 102/103 rejection and provide both the anticipation and obviousness basis for unpatentability. The Patent Office does not have access to equipment that would enable it to make the claimed product, the prior art product, and compare the two. The examiner should make a reasonable effort to determine the physical limitations imparted by the process before finding a prior art product that is either essentially identical or obvious over the claimed invention. Remember, it is the product itself and any structure implied by the steps in the product by process claim that must be considered when determining patentability. If there is prior art that is essentially identical to the claimed product or would make obvious the claimed product, you should make a rejection. To be patentable, the product of a product by process claim must be novel or unobvious over the prior art, just like any other product claim. Before examining a product by process claim, you will have to determine what structure is implied by the process. This can sometimes be difficult because the structure implied by the process step may not be as descriptive as compared to the usual manner of claiming structure. The best you can do is make sure you understand what the claimed product is and make a decision based upon the knowledge you have in your particular art. So what should you do if you are uncertain whether the instantly claimed structure is the same or substantially identical to the prior art structure? As previously stated, if the claimed structure or the claimed product appears to be substantially identical to what is found in the prior art, you should make a 102/103 rejection and explain the anticipation and obviousness aspects. It is important to make it clear on your office action that the claim is being interpreted as a product by process claim and remind the applicant how product by process claims are examined. The burden then shifts to the applicant to explain why the prior art product is different from the claimed product. The Patent Office bears a lesser burden of proof in making out a case of prima facie obviousness for product by process claims because of their peculiar nature than when a product is claimed in the conventional fashion. Again, once the examiner has provided a rationale that the claimed product appears to be the same or similar to that of prior art, although produced by a different process, the burden will shift to applicant to come forward with evidence establishing an unobvious difference between the claimed product and the prior art product. Attorney argument alone, without supporting factual evidence, will likely be insufficient to overcome the rejection. There is no one style of claim or art area that may have a product by process limitation, but some areas are more likely to see these types of claims than others. Some examples of claims that may include a product by process claim are a claim to a product with only process limitations, a claim to a chemical product that cannot be structurally defined, and any type of article of manufacturer. We will next look at two specific examples of product by process claims. Example 1 is a claim drawn to a product or material which is essentially free of X metal where X metal is an alkali metal. The body of the claim recites the process by which the material is made. What does the claim require? The claim requires only a material which is essentially free of X metal. The process steps only serve to provide compositional characteristics of the material. A prior art reference was found which discloses a material essentially free of X metal, but made by a different process. Should you reject the claim over this reference? Yes, you should reject the claim. Remember, patentability is determined by the product itself, not the steps or process used to make the product. The examiner should make a 102/103 rejection using the reference. Explain to the applicant in the rejection that this is a product-by-process claim, how a product-by-process claim is interpreted, and explain how the claimed product and prior art product appear to be the same. The burden then shifts to the applicant to show the difference between the two products. This example was based on an actual court case in Re Morosi. The court affirmed that the examiner's rejection was proper because the applicant failed to provide evidence that the prior art was not essentially free of alkali metal as claimed. Example 2 is drawn to a flat insole for use in a shoe. This claim is a little different from the claim in the previous example. You have the product, a flat insole for use in a shoe, and the process, not molded under heat or pressure. The rest of the claim provides more details about the insole. The prior art discloses a flat foam insole that is all of the structural features claimed. The reference provides no disclosure as to how the insole is made. Can the claim be rejected under 35 U.S.C. Section 102 or Section 103 using the prior art reference? Yes, you should reject the claim using the prior art reference. The not molded under heat or pressure limitation does not impart any structural features to the insole. As in the first example, the examiner would reject and make clear that the claimed product is not new or unobvious over the prior art product. Explain to the applicant in the rejection that this is a product-by-process claim, how a product-by-process claim is interpreted, and explain how the claimed product and prior art product appear to be the same. The burden of proof then shifts to the applicant. The applicant has every right to disagree but must provide factual evidence as to why the claimed product and prior art product are different. However, even if the applicant's evidence overcomes the rejection under 35 U.S.C. Section 102, you would still have to determine whether the evidence overcomes the rejection under 35 U.S.C. Section 103. The 103 rejection could still stand. You should now be more familiar with the preamble, how important the preamble is to claim interpretation, and product-by-process claims.